Hi guys, my name is Haley and today I'm going to be going over all 9 books that I read in the month of November. I have a stack here of 9 books and most of them are fantasy and romance with the exception of one historical fiction. And I would say I had a pretty good reading month. I enjoyed most of what I read, thankfully, and I'll get right into what I actually read. The first book that I ended up reading in November was The Nightingale by Kirsten Hanna. This is the historical fiction that I ended up reading, and this book follows 2 sisters in World War II in occupied France, and it is a very emotional, very heavy story. And the 2 sisters have very, very different mindsets. One is all about wanting to fight back, and the other is definitely wants to play it safe and protect her family and do whatever it takes to keep her children safe. And I think it was really interesting getting to see that very big comparison of 2 different mindsets and 2 different experiences. They've had very different life experiences, and it really does shape how they are going about trying to survive. I thought this book was a little bit slow at times. I think the pacing was a little bit off, but I don't think that takes away from how important and impactful the story is. And I definitely really enjoyed it. The ending was very, very sad. Overall, I would probably give this a 4 out of 5, just purely for the fact that the pacing was a little bit slow at times. But I did end up listening to the audiobook of this, and I really enjoyed it. I literally felt sick to my stomach at times with what they were experiencing and going through. I was like, oh my god, like I genuinely feel sick. But I definitely think if you are wanting something a little bit different, if you typically read fantasy or romance, I definitely think that this is a pretty good place to start with going into historical fiction and trying out a different genre. And overall, I would definitely recommend. The next book that I ended up reading in November was Daydream by Hannah Grace. I enjoyed this. I wouldn't say it was the best book I've ever read, but I wouldn't say it was terrible. This follows Hallie and Henry. Henry is one character that you see throughout the first 2 in the series. And they are all interconnected standalones. You don't really necessarily need to read the first 2 in order to read this one, but there definitely are some spoilers as to who the couples are when you get to this point if you don't read the first 2. But it basically just follows them meeting each other and forming a relationship, and it's just kind of your standard college romance. I read The Icebreaker and Wildfire when they came out, and I thought they were okay. I definitely think that this one is definitely more book coded. Like the main character loves to read, wants to be an author. Overall, I would probably give this a 3.5 to 4. I'll probably lean more towards 3.75, just somewhere in the middle. And I will probably continue the series depending on who the next book is about. We'll see. Then the next 2 books that I read were Empire of Storms and Tower of Dawn by Miss Sarah J. Maas. I absolutely love these. This series, I love so much. I read this series for the first time back in 2018, and I was in, I think, middle school, which is crazy. But now I am 21, and I am reading these books with, honestly, a fresh pair of eyes because I have not reread them since. And if you haven't read, which you need to if you haven't read these, but if you don't know, Throne of Glass starts out as a book about a young assassin who is entering a contest to be the king's champion to earn her freedom. But by this point, it is a completely different series. Honestly, it feels so different. I started rereading the series back in April, and I got up to Air Fire. I took a little break because I convinced my friend to read ACOTAR, and so we read that together, and then I did somehow convince her to read Throne of Glass as well, and so I waited for her to catch up until Air Fire, and then we picked up with Queen of Shadows and read the rest of the series together. And it was her first time reading it, which I had so much fun lying to her about everything because she kept guessing. But I love these books. I think they are feels like a completely different series from where you first start in Throne of Glass. I just love them so much, and I definitely think that these two are some of my favorites within the series. I did annotate them, or I didn't annotate, I tabbed them, but these are my tabs in Empire of Storms. I think they look so pretty. I honestly kind of forget which characters are what because I just kept running out, so I kept having to create new colors for new characters, and then my tabs for Tower of Dawn. But I absolutely love these books. I can tell you vividly where I was the first time when I finished Tower of Dawn. I was sitting in the back of my mom's car, and I was at like a Christmas tree light show, and I went to my friend's house afterwards, and I just remember finishing it in the car, and I was like just so insanely obsessed with this because I wasn't sure how much I was going to like it when I first started out, because where you end off at the end of Empire of Storms is heartbreaking and insane. And then when you go into Tower of Dawn, you are basically reading about a completely different character that does not answer your questions about what you finished reading in this one. And now people tandem read them. I did kind of tandem read them, not very authentically, but I did kind of go back and forth. And I ended up loving this so much more than I thought I was the first time, and now I just absolutely love this. I think you find out so much vital information in this book that is such a key player into what you eventually find out in the last book. But I absolutely love these two. Following that, I did read Wild Eyes by Miss Elsie Silver. I really enjoyed this. This follows Skylar, who is a big celebrity pop star, or country, I don't know, pop star, country star. And she basically has been lied to all her life and kind of been pushed from like a child into this fame. And she decides one day that she just wants some change and goes to a ranch. She meets West, who is Rosie's brother from the first one, and Skylar just kind of stays on his ranch, and they just kind of spark a little romance. But I absolutely love the famous person, non-famous person trope when it comes to a romance. I think it is just so cute and wholesome, and I just really enjoy it. This is the second book following Wild Love, and I did not like Wild Love when I first read it in the beginning of the year. I really just did not like it at all. The one thing, I just remember this right now, this third act conflict wasn't a third act conflict. Whatever happened towards the end of this book that kind of played into the third act conflict, it gave me so much secondhand embarrassment. As soon as it was brought up, I was like, oh my god, I already know that this is going to be like something that is going to be a problem later, and it was, and I did not like it. I did not like it at all. But I would still probably give this a 4.25. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was very sweet. I loved getting to see West has 2 kids, and I think that they were just really cute in this book too, and I loved getting to see them and how they played into the growth of their relationship, and I thought it was really sweet. And I definitely will continue the series. I don't know which characters the next one is about, but I definitely recommend this one. If you don't like Wild Love, push through, because this one is better. I did not like Wild Love. Thought it was bad. And following that, I read Kingdom of Ash, which is the last and final book in Throne of Glass. I could have grouped them all together, but for authenticity, I did read Wild Eyes in between reading these. So these, oh my gosh, beautiful. I absolutely love this book. I would say that this is my favorite within all of the Throne of Glass series. This book is almost 1,000 pages, and if you don't, I feel like if you don't necessarily like Throne of Glass, you might not love this book because it does focus a lot on different characters, and you really have to love the characters to enjoy this, in my opinion. I think that this book, so much happened, and you are just so heartbroken in the beginning, and it is just so hard, not hard to read, but it is just so sad. And I think from where you start out in the beginning of this book to the end is just such a big big change in so many ways, and I love this book. This book is a lot of politics, a lot of war, heavy on the war, but I absolutely love this. I think that this is one of my favorite books of all time. Genuinely, I love this. If you are thinking about reading Throne of Glass, I would say do it. It is a little, if you read Assassin's Blade first, which I do recommend, a little slow. But once you get to Throne of Glass, I think it gets a little bit more interesting, and definitely by the time you get to Crown of Midnight, I really enjoyed Crown of Midnight. Thought so much more happened than what I remember the first time reading happened, but definitely recommend reading Throne of Glass. It is such a amazing story. So good, so good. And following that was a disappointment. I read The Pumpkin Spice Cafe by Laurie Gilmore, and I just wasn't really crazy about this. This follows Jenny. She takes over her aunt's cafe, which is called the Pumpkin Spice Cafe in this little New England town, and she doesn't really, I mean, I guess she doesn't really know what she wants. She wants to do good at this, and she wants to kind of reinvent herself in a ways. And it is a romance. Based off of this cover, I really was not expecting it to be like anything like, okay, it's just like a little romance, but this says a small town spicy romance on the back. And I saw that and I was like, oh, was not really expecting that. And I just kind of, she meets Logan. He's a farmer. He's kind of like grumpy. It's grumpy sunshine, but he's kind of just a jerk. Honestly, I don't even think they should have ended up together. I thought he was so rude towards the end, and she should have just not been with him, honestly. But it was very flat, and it's just very surface level. The characters were not likable in my opinion, but you just follow Jeannie kind of taking over, learning how to man the cafe and run it, and you see Logan kind of come out of his shell and want to be with her, kind of, I guess, and just kind of their romance, but I thought he was a jerk. I did not like him. But I would probably honestly give this like a 2.5 to 3. I guess it had some fall vibes, which, you know, if you're going for that, seasonal, don't expect it to be what it's not, which I knew going into this, but still I just really did not like the characters, so I don't know. I will not be continuing the series. I just don't think this is for me, or at least this author's way of writing characters is for me. But following that is almost, I would say, similar vibes, is A Novel Love Story by Ashley Poston. This follows Elsie, and she is going on her annual book club retreat. However, it's just her going this year because everybody else kind of had plans come up, and along the way she somehow stumbles into her favorite book's town, and she's basically stuck there for a little while, and you just see her get to interact with her favorite book characters. You don't know that they're in a book, and she just kind of has to almost help them a little bit along the way. But as you can tell by the name, this is a romance, but I don't think it should have been a romance, honestly. I think that Ashley could have really played this as a women's fiction novel and played into the aspect of Elsie coming here, helping her favorite characters, while also learning who she is and finding out what she wants. I think that the romance was not very good. It felt very like it was nothing, and then like the last like third of the book, it was just like, here, and why? I just think it would have been better with no romance. I didn't really see the chemistry. I don't know, I just really didn't. I wasn't too crazy about that aspect of this book, which is a shame, because I really, really enjoyed The Dead Romantics by Ashley Poston, and I did enjoy The 7-Year Slip as well, but this one I think was just a little bit of a miss for me. I just don't think I was too crazy about the whole romance aspect of this book. I think it could have been done a little bit better, but I'd probably I think I rated this around a 3. I would probably keep that. I think it's just, the concept was definitely there. I would love to be in my favorite book series town. I don't even know which one it would be. Like, I think I would die in the Throne of Glass world, so that's beside the point. But I would love to experience that. So the concept is definitely there, but I just don't think that it should have been a romance, in my opinion. And the final book that I ended up reading or listening to was Foxglove by Adeline Grace. This is the second book in the Belladonna trilogy, and I enjoyed this. I don't really know what to tell you about this one without giving away too much from the first book. It just follows Signa as she uncovers a new mystery and a new problem within that world. And I read Belladonna about a month before Foxglove came out, and I really, really loved Belladonna. I really, really enjoyed it. And I started reading this when it came out, and I was like, oh, I don't really know if I'm too crazy about this. It kind of was a little bit slow, so I put it down. That was like last summer, I think, and I picked it up this year again, and I did enjoy it more. I think I wish we got to see more of Signa and her love interest from the first book. I won't give away who that is, but I really enjoy their dynamic in the first book, and I wish we got to see the same in this book, but obviously there was a new villain, I guess, in this book that made sense where they weren't able to see each other as much. It is a gothic fantasy, so if you are interested in that, definitely recommend. I liked this a little bit more than I would say an average amount. I would probably give it around 4. What even happened? What even happened? But I'm currently reading Wisteria, and I think I will like that one a bit more. This one definitely felt like a bridge between the two. Belladonna is about Signa, and Wisteria is about another character that you meet within these first 2 books. And so this book definitely felt like a bridge to kind of gap that transition between the 2 different female main characters of the books. I did enjoy this. I thought it was entertaining, and sometimes with an audiobook, that's all I'm really looking for. Those are all the books that I read in November. I had a pretty good month, and I am so excited for all the books that I'm going to read in December. I definitely have a pretty good list lined up, so I'm looking forward to that. Definitely leave a comment below all the books you guys read. I would love some new recommendations, and I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!